Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Cal here with Droid Life, Droid Life Show, episode 87 today. Date's July 31st, last day of the month. I'm with Tim. Tim, say hi real quick.
Hey guys, how's it going? Tim here.
So we got a lot of big stuff to talk about. We've taken a couple of weeks off because it's the summer and we like to take days off, and so we kind of disappeared for a little bit. But yeah, this was a big week. We got hands on with the OnePlus 2. Then we got hands on with Motorola's new flagship, and they announced some other flagship, or not flagship. They announced another phone and Moto G as well. We have a Samsung event confirmed now. I wonder if they, timed that invite purposefully while OnePlus and everybody else was doing anything, because it all kind of happened like right during that. We've maybe even seen one of the new Nexus 5 or Nexus phones leak, at least a back case. Lots of stuff. So I think we'll start with Moto, just because we know everyone's kind of a big fan of Moto. Actually, we ran a poll that said, which one are you, if you had to choose one over either the Moto X Pure Edition or the OnePlus 2, which would you go with? And it was a massive landslide for Moto, wasn't it?
I believe so.
I'm pulling it up now. And of course, my internet's either really slow or Droid Life's dying as I say that.
Early results had Moto doing quite well.
Yeah, early results were Moto just kind of crushing it, which isn't that big of a surprise because, they're a big company and OnePlus is still doing some semi-questionable stuff. Anyways, while that loads. So let's talk Motorola then. Even though OnePlus happened first, we're going to talk Motorola. So Motorola was Tuesday, and they had a press event in New York City. They also had one in London at the same time and one in Sao Paulo, Brazil as well. Oh, yeah, Moto X Pure Edition was 74%. So the event went down, and they had executives at all three of the locations that kind of did this live stream where they jumped between all of them. And so what they announced was the Moto X Style, the Moto X Play, and then the Moto G 3rd Gen. And so we've kind of known everything about the Moto G 3rd Gen for a long time. The Moto X Style and Play, we've heard names float out there, but we didn't necessarily know all that much about them. Now we do. So I guess there's some confusion. And this confusion, I think, is still running through today. So this is the deal. We have the Moto X Style, which is the new flagship. You could even call it the Moto X 2015 or the Moto X 3rd Gen, whatever you want. But the Moto X Style, at least in terms of name, won't be sold in the US. The version sold in the US is called the Moto X Pure Edition. So you have Moto X Style out there in international land, Moto X Pure Edition right here in the US. Same phone, just have different names. I know it's super confusing. That's the story. So when you go to buy a new Moto X here in the US, you're not buying the Moto X Style, you're buying the Pure Edition, if that makes sense. Then they also announced what's considered, I guess, a mid-range phone, and it's called the Moto X Play. And it's got this massive battery, a 1080p display, and it's not coming to the US. I think people are kind of sad about that, but it's not coming to the US, going international. And, it could come here in some form, or maybe there's going to be a Droid variant that'll be similar, is sort of my guess. And then, of course, the Moto G. So let's just run through specs real quick. So the Moto X Style or Pure Edition, depending on your country, it's a big phone, 5.7-inch Quad HD display, Snapdragon 808. So they went 808, not 810, just sort of like LG did with the G4. It's got 3 gig of RAM. It has a base price of $399, which is pretty damn reasonable, I would say, especially from, a big manufacturer like this. Like we've seen OnePlus do it, and we'll talk about them. Huawei does it, ZTE does it. Like all these Chinese manufacturers seem to be able to do it. We haven't really seen a big company, not a big company, a name brand company, especially like Motorola, do it. So anyways, 1632 or 64 gig storage, also has an SD card slot, which is awesome. So you may as well just buy the 16 gig model and throw an SD. Anyway, starts at $399 for that 16 gig model. Has 3,000 milliamp hour battery with special super turbocharging or something. No wireless charging, unfortunately. Let's see. They went LCD this time, which is a little odd. They've gone AMOLED for years because they can use their Moto display and only light up select pixels. And with an LCD, you have to light up the whole display. And I think people are worried that that's going to kill battery life. I would imagine Motorola wouldn't have done it if they thought it was going to completely destroy battery life. The camera is a 21 megapixel shooter. It's apparently like it's the newest Sony sensor available that no one else is using. I don't think. I think this is the first phone with it. It doesn't have optical image stabilization, unfortunately. But they handed this phone out to a bunch of photography sites and had them review it, and they all said the camera is amazing. Apparently, top 2 right behind the Galaxy S6, which is something. Let's see, 5-megapixel front camera with a flash on the front, front-facing dual speakers, stereo, Android 5.111. I think I just said 3 ones there, and obviously the Moto Suite. So Moto Voice, display, actions, assist, all that stuff. So it's stock Android with the Moto Suite. It sounds like a pretty sweet phone, actually.
Sounds pretty good to me. You know, the fact that you're buying it directly from Motorola and you don't have to worry about carriers getting all up in your business is really important to Android users, especially. I mean, we don't have to really get into the situation with carriers and updates and all that stuff. But since you're buying the phone directly through Motorola and it will work on any carrier, this is a huge win for consumers, especially at that price point for what you're getting, the overall package. So sure, a lot of people said, well, it's big. A lot of people are like, it's a little too big. I mean, it's kind of closing in on the whole whale range at 5.7 inch. But at the same time, it looks like a real quality device. I wasn't able to spend times with it. In your mind, you know, how did it really feel? You know, that doesn't really translate well through videos. So, I mean, in terms of quality and form, what did you think?
It feels a lot like kind of, well, obviously the size wise, but it feels like like the middle ground between the Moto X 2nd gen and then the Nexus 6. Obviously it's slightly smaller, but it's got that Moto build that feels, how like the Nexus 6, even though it's a huge whale, it feels really solid. Like the quality's nice. It's kind of a heavy phone.
Kind of heavy.
Yeah, it feels like that, except it has this, depending on the texture, obviously you get on the back, has this nice sort of softer texture. It didn't feel crazy huge, and 5.7 is big, don't get me wrong, but what did Motorola say? The display takes up like 74, 5 or 6% or something like that.
It was a high ratio, or I forget the exact number they said, but
yeah, somewhere in the 70s, I think. And so it's mostly display. I mean, like I was holding in hand. Obviously when you're at these events and trying to film things, it's sort of tough at times because you have either a tripod or monopod or no pod, and you're holding the phone. And I was able to capture it and still maneuver it with one hand for the most part. And so, while I was filming, which is always a good sign. So it felt really nice. It was super snappy, like all the Moto phones have been, because they're basically stock Android. I think Motorola does a lot of behind the scenes stuff to really make sure performance is top notch. Unfortunately, we couldn't really test the camera because this demo area they had set up was like the worst lit demo room I've ever been in. And so the camera fired up fast. You can do the like wrist gesture to launch it and then tap and take pictures. And that was all fast. It was just like, you couldn't test quality because the lighting was so terrible. Overall though, I was impressed, especially when they announced the price. Actually, it was funny in our live blog we were doing. Everyone was kind of like, Motorola's failing, no OIS, and there's some confusion about the batteries, which we could talk about between that and the Play. And then all of a sudden they announced price, and everyone was like, oh, price. I like Moto again. It was kind of funny to see that switch. Overall, though, yeah, I mean, it just feels like another quality Motorola device, even if it might be a little bit bigger than I think what I would want.
Naturally.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think, well, I haven't been able to get my hands on the OnePlus 2 either. But, from just looking at pictures and all that, I would think that I'm leaning towards that Moto device just because I love Moto display. I love the little tweaks and software stuff that Motorola does. I find it quite useful.
Mm-hmm.
And, it'll probably look real good with that 2nd gen Moto 360 that's probably coming sooner or later. Mm-hmm. So, I've always been a fan of Motorola as a company and, as a hardware maker. And, ever since they got rid of Moto Blur and all that, and they've kind of been big on stock Android, then I can get behind that. So I'm looking forward to it. But then again, I'm also looking forward to the OnePlus 2. So
yeah. I think the biggest disappointment for me was just, and I think a lot of people said this as well, is the size thing, right? Like they went from like 5, what was the original Moto X was 4.7, I think, actually. So 4.7, then they went to 5.2 last year, and then they just jumped it all the way to 5.7. And they sort of said that, People are watching more video on their phones these days, and they want a bigger screen. And I get that people are buying bigger screens. I just think we all love the fact that the Moto X, like the Galaxy S6, has sort of stayed small for all these years. But Motorola they went right in there, 5.7. It should be, I think the price point, it's tough to like not take it serious, like to not put it, right. If you're looking for a phone, it's got to be right up there with the phones you should be considering. Unfortunately, it doesn't come out till September. But $399 is crazy. Like this phone, like they didn't skimp on anything. It doesn't have wireless charging, and I know that bugs some people, but it has turbocharging. They didn't really skimp on anything. Like I said, they used a new camera sensor, I'm pretty sure, from Sony that no one else has used yet. Like it's that new. Like they tried to put the best of everything in here. And so they're going to charge $399, sell it directly, Motorola.com, Amazon, and Best Buy. Has Moto Maker as well. So you could customize a phone too at $399, which is nuts. And then of course you got leathers and woods and stuff like that too. And you can upgrade the storage too, and that'll just raise the price. But yeah, that $399, dude, for a flagship Motorola phone. So
for a Moto phone that has a working camera, that's quite the deal.
Right. And that's a huge deal. And keep in mind, like when the first Moto X launched, remember it kind of had like that weird processor that was like a year old, and everyone complained about how expensive the phone was. And even last year's Moto X was, I think, $499 when it first launched. And so like this phone's starting $100 cheaper than last year's Moto X, and obviously trumps it on like every level. You know what I mean? And like it's supposed to have, like you just mentioned, a real camera. So Motorola is obviously trying to do some things where they're lowering prices. Lenovo owns them now, so margins aren't as big of a deal to them, I would imagine. And look, they've been selling this Moto G like crazy, and they probably make, not a ton of money off of it. So it's an awesome approach. The thing is, it's weird to not have it with carriers. I've actually seen some people complain a little bit that even at $400, which is a really good price, people are worried that they're not going to be able to buy it because they still need to go through carriers, right, to get either a subsidized thing or a payment plan or whatever. And so I think some people are a little worried. They're like, I don't have $400 to drop on a phone, and I fully understand that. I would expect Motorola will have a payment plan. They've had one for years.
True.
So if you want to get it for cheaper and pay monthly, pretty sure Motorola will let you do that. And they're probably really going to have to be able to do that if they're going to sell this thing directly. So I think it'll be accessible to people, even though a lot of people are a little worried about spending $400. And hey, no branding, no carrier branding, faster updates because they don't have to go through any of that testing with carriers. Oh, we didn't even mention it works on every single carrier. It's one model, works on every single carrier.
One phone to rule them all.
Yes.
And in the darkness, find them.
It's just cool to see a company finally do this. Like it's one of those things we've wanted somebody to do.
Well, it's like a Nexus device. It just, it's not backed by Google, and it has the software tweaks which Google wouldn't be able to throw on because that's not, AOSP.
Right.
So to me, for Nexus fans, this is going to be huge. I saw confirmation through one of Motorola's back channels that the device will ship with an unlockable bootloader.
Oh, that's sweet.
And so people can do whatever the heck they want. I mean, this is like, that pure Android experience everyone looks for a great price, killer specs. And like, I think Motorola really knocked it out of the park on this one.
Yeah, it was one of those things like, while I was at the event and they were announcing it, maybe it was like a OnePlus 2 hangover or something, but I don't remember being super thrilled about it. And since I've left New York, as each day's gone on, I kind of just keep going, I really want that phone. I want that Moto X in my hand. Like, even though it's big, like Motorola is doing what we wanted somebody to do. We wanted an unlocked phone that didn't skimp on anything, that sold unlocked, that works everywhere for cheap. Like, this is kind of what we've been asking for. So yeah, I'm excited. It's just too bad it's September. Like, that feels like so far away. I know it's almost August, but
it is August basically. So yeah, I mean, at least a month. We're looking, probably mid-September, I would think. I
mean, it could be mid-September. And I don't know what the deal is there, if they need a month and a half to manufacture it, or if they're still tweaking a whole bunch of things. They didn't necessarily say, like, this is really pre-production stuff here. Like, don't be too critical. Like, they didn't do any of that. They kind of just said, like, here's the phone, like, play with it for a while. We can't give you any, though, because we don't have any.
Yeah, I touched on this issue yesterday, I believe, in a post where I was just like, yeah, the same could be said about Motorola with wanting to push up their announcement date because of Apple.
Oh
Seems
yeah.
like everyone in the industry is very concerned about Apple and the iPhone success and how it's probably just going to absolutely dominate anything else on the market.
Right.
Apple's been doing that every year. So I don't know why, people have to take so many cues from them as to when they should launch a phone or announce a phone.
Yeah.
Like, I say, do you. And, if it's a good device, then it should just sell itself, really. Android fans will, most likely stick to Android if it's a good phone. But I've been seeing, a few people say, oh, I'm going to the iPhone. Well, then that's fine. I mean,
Right.
there's like billion plus Android users in the world.
Right.
Sure, the OS itself will be fine.
Right.
But with Samsung, there were reports saying that they had to push up their announcement of the Galaxy Note 5 because of Apple and all this hoopla about Apple. It really gets tiring. Every year it's the same. And I just try not to even care about it anymore. I mean, it's fun because we get to live blog Apple events and we get to have our fun, and it's a good time. But I kind of wish that people would be almost more like Apple without attempting to try and be Apple. Like, hey, they announce a phone, a week or two later it's available and anyone who wants it can have it. That's just the way it should be done, because by the time that you release the phone a month and a half later than when you announce it, the hype is over.
Yeah.
And it's dead. I felt the same way with last year's OnePlus. It was like, oh, super exciting phone and all that. So I flew down to San Francisco to go to the press event where they announced the phone. I got hands on. I didn't touch a OnePlus One for maybe a couple of months after that,
Right.
Because of the invite system, blah, blah, blah. So when you kill your own hype, you're probably going to have a problem. So I think they shot themselves in the foot with this one.
I think they did a little bit. And like Samsung's going to do something. So in 2 weeks or whatever, in New York, Samsung's going to announce phones, and then they're going to be on top for a little while. And then after that, everyone's just going to be waiting for the iPhone. So it seems like did Motorola push up because of Apple and then because of Samsung? Because it just seems like so odd that they would announce a phone and not have it be ready for potentially a month and a half. That's just weird. Like, why not wait until like after Samsung? Like, they could have gone, like end of August or something before Apple. I don't know. It's too bad, because I think people would buy. Like, people seem generally excited about the new Moto X.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know Samsung, or we believe Samsung's event will be geared more towards people who enjoy larger phones.
Yeah.
Galaxy Note 5, large display. Galaxy S6 Edge Plus. Like, I don't want to say that word 5 times fast just because that's such a long name. Please change it. But
Moto X Pure Edition.
Yeah, long, long names, big phones. But I just don't see, I don't see anyone who would be in the market for either the Moto X Pure Edition or the Galaxy Note 5. I mean, either you're going to want a big display or not. So really, them kind of being released around the same time, I don't see them as competitor devices in that sense, because they are very different. So I think if you had the Note 4, the Note 3, and you were looking to update, you aren't thinking Pure Edition. You're thinking Note 5,
Right.
S6 Edge Plus. Right. You want another big phone.
Right.
So we'll see. August 13th. It's coming.
It's for Samsung, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so just one last thing with Moto. The Moto X Play was their other phone. And again, it's not coming to the US. And it was sort of controversial in a way because it's kind of like the cheaper version of the Moto X Pure Edition or style. Because it only has a 1080p display, 2 gig of RAM, and a Snapdragon 615 processor. But then it has this giant battery. What is it, like 36?
It was
How big is it?
3630?
Yeah, 3630. And so everyone's pissed that they should have had this battery in the Moto X Pure. And I'm with you on that, especially because you have Quad HD, smaller battery, 1080p, bigger battery. At least this Play thing should last like 3 days, I think, on a single charge with that 1080p display. But it's kind of a cool looking device. And at 1080p, like, you're still got a really nice display there with a massive battery. Like, it probably would be a pretty good option. And especially it's going to be like $100 cheaper. So this phone in the US could have been $299.
Well, it's got that Snapdragon 615, correct?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So, I mean, on the internals, on the outside, they didn't skimp too much. Or some people would say 1080p is kind of skimping, but I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
But going with the mid-tier Snapdragon processor, you may see a few issues here and there. But
yeah, I mean, if you're gaming or something, maybe. But like I have the new Moto G right here, and this thing's not slow at all, and it's got like a 410 in it, I think, or something like that. So it's kind of too bad. I wish they would sell this Play unlocked here as well. I mean, if it's $100 cheaper, $299 for that thing, that thing kills the like phone 2, which is also $299.
Motorola did state in the press release for these phones that they had something else planned.
That's true
for U.S. consumers. And my question was, well, where's the Moto X? I mean, we had Moto X 2013, Moto X 2014. Where's just the standard Moto X? No Play, no style, no whatever. Just standard Moto X. Like, is that still a possibility?
I don't think there is one. I think it is the pure edition.
What do you think Motorola would like be hinting at when they say they have something else planned for the U.S.?
Droids.
Really?
Yeah.
So maybe the Play will be rebranded as a Droid device for the U.S. then.
Yeah. So I think it was EvLeaks this week tweeted something about there's going to be a Droid Max 2 this year and a Droid Turbo 2. I can't believe they're going to go with those stupid names. And so then my guess is like the Max 2 is going to be this Play, but Droid branded, so it'll be all black and dark and robotic or whatever. And then the Turbo 2 will be like the Moto X style or pure edition, basically, but Droid branded. That's my guess, is that they're going to both be here, just rebranded as Droids.
Well, it'll have to be, because it's got the huge battery, so it'll have to be the Motorola Droid Turbo Max 2 2015 edition.
2015 LTE, yeah.
Yeah, and then the limited edition Verizon edition Turbo Boost.
It's just the Max, I think, is the Play, because Max, remember, was like max battery kind of thing, and the Play has the bigger battery, so that's my guess. And then Turbo is supposed to be like the flagship, and so it'll be the pure edition.
The Kevlar back is pretty badass, I gotta say. I mean, it's cool.
You want Kevlar on a phone?
Sure, just make it super thin.
Kevlar.
If you can make it thin, like if it was like an old Droid X, but with a straight like Kevlar back, kind of that wiry look, that'd be kind of, yeah, it needs to be thin, but that would be pretty sweet.
I think thins out with Motorola. Actually, the new Moto X, the pure edition, is not that thick. Wait, where is it?
It goes from like 6 to
11
or something. Yeah, 11.
So 11's getting up there.
That's up there, dude. Anything over 10 is pretty redonk.
Yeah, everything over 10's pretty. You know what though? If a phone will actually last, I will take a little heft.
Sure. I mean, I've been carrying the Nexus 6 around. This thing it's large.
It's thick. I've been meaning to pen an entire opinion piece on how manufacturers need to stop making thin phones and make phones that actually have giant batteries, that we're not going to mind like a little bit of thickness if that means like a battery that will last. So not to go on Switch phones, but I was using the G4 for a couple of weeks because its battery actually lasts a full day, unlike the Galaxy S6. And then when I was traveling, I switched over to a Moto X just so I could get familiar with it again and have it to compare and stuff like that. And since I've gotten back home, I want a good camera again. So I picked up the S6 again, and and T-Mobile just pushed an update to it that's supposed to help battery life. And while they fix all the lag and jank, by the way, which is awesome, the battery life's still terrible. I'm still getting like 8 hours or something. So, anyways, I don't know where I was going there. Oh, thickness. I don't mind a thicker phone. Anyway, so yeah, the Play's not coming here, but I think it will be as a Droid. I'm sure that'll make people sad because then you can only get it on Verizon. At least that's my take on what they meant by future things coming to the US type of thing. Let's see. So the other thing that was the Moto G 3rd gen, which I actually have. They did give us those. Nice little phone. Super cheap, $179 starting price, or $220 if you want to double the RAM and storage. I'm probably going to start playing with this more, actually. It doesn't really feel like a cheap little $200 unlocked phone. So, and this thing's waterproof, unlike those other ones. So I may switch
water resistant.
Sorry,
just
water
to be
resistant.
clear.
Almost.
IPX7. Not even almost. It's 30 minutes for a meter.
Okay. That's fine, though, right? I mean, no one wants to like go swim in a lake for 2 hours with their phone, do they?
I would hope not. I mean, you might be able to get away with a couple underwater pictures. But
Oh,
yeah,
I'll find out. I'll take some bathtub pictures or something.
do it.
Yeah. So Motorola had three phones. One wasn't a surprise. The other two actually were surprises. So, any last Moto words then? We're kind of like in Moto limbo now until September, which sucks.
Again, yeah, the hype will die.
It will.
People will probably opt going for the OnePlus 2 if it's readily available. If they have enough supplies, people will be like, you know what, I don't want to wait. I'm gonna try that OP juice. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
All right. So let's talk OnePlus 2. So that was Monday. Flew to San Francisco, had a little briefing, and then they did their live stream with their VR thing, which was kind of a disaster, I think. But
I thought it was a total disaster too. I wasn't using the VR cardboard. I mean, I have some, but I wasn't using it, and I still got sick. I mean, I had to sit in my chair, my swivelly chair, and still like go around, feel like a total idiot in my own home. And only OnePlus could do that.
it's like a giant spider, like right next to my desk.
How giant are we talking? Quarter size, nickel size,
Maybe
half
nickel.
dollar?
Maybe nickel.
Oh, little house spider.
Yeah, but he's kind of a gnarly looking one. Anyways, I'll keep an eye on him. He's going the other way, thankfully, now, so that's good. All right, so OnePlus 2 had hands on with it. So they announced their new phone. Let me see. Let me pull up the full specs here. But it starts at $329 for a 16 gig model with no SD slot, and then goes up to $389 for a 64 gig model. It is actually under 10 millimeters thick, which is nice. So it runs 5.1 with their Oxygen OS, which is lightly skin, or it's basically like Moto's approach. We go stock Android, and then they add on some features. Snapdragon 810. So we have to worry about obviously some heat issues there. Still watching that spider. Oh, he's going to the roof now. Ceiling. So 64 gig version has 4 gig of RAM. 16 gig version has 3 gig of RAM. Has a fingerprint sensor on the bottom, which doubles as a home button if you want it to. 3,300 milliamp hour battery. It works everywhere except Verizon and Sprint. There's no CDMA in here, so it's kind of an unlocked GSM phone. They have sort of a fake USB Type-C port, which we'll talk about in a second. They have like the iPhone volume switch on the side, which I'm actually kind of excited about. 5.5 inch HD display, full HD, so 1080p. So this phone should have crazy good battery life if they've done it properly. 13 megapixel camera with OIS. It's f2.0. 5 megapixel front, bottom facing speaker. What else? That's it. So spec'd nicely. Also has wood back options, Kevlar, so you could get Kevlar, and then the sandstone black. The phone looks really nice. I held it in hand, and it just feels like a really premium device. It feels really nice. I almost want to say that it felt nicer in hand than the Moto X. Like there was something about the OnePlus 2 in hand that just felt nicer. I don't really know how to explain it. Maybe a little more weight to it even, which is kind of crazy to think. So let's see. There's some drama, obviously, with the phone. It doesn't have NFC. So the slogan here is never settle. That's kind of what OnePlus goes by. And you have to settle on no NFC, no quick charge 2.0, and no wireless charging as well. And then they put in this USB Type-C, which like really isn't USB Type-C. Like it is, but it's not the USB 3.0 basically. So there's no actual added benefits for like transferring data or charging. It's just USB 2.0 in like a port that they made into the shape of USB Type-C, if that makes sense.
So they like Jimmy rigged USB Type-C.
Yes, pretty much.
See, now that seems like a complete ripoff. I didn't even know this. Like I'm just now hearing about this.
Yeah. So
what the
what
the deuce?
It doesn't. You probably can't even like do all of the dongle attachment stuff to like video out and all of that because it's not like real USB Type-C.
That should probably be like a big post.
Yeah. So they said no NFC because no one used NFC in the OnePlus One. And while that's fine, no one probably does use it because it's NFC. You still shouldn't just remove it completely. You should let people who buy the phone still be able to use it if they want to use it. I can't imagine that an NFC chip costs any more than like 50 cents to put in a damn phone. I have no idea. I can't imagine it's more than like $1 or $2.
Probably not. Well, man, they wanted to save money somewhere. They said
guess.
people weren't using it, which I don't understand how they could really, unless they were getting usage reports from all of their users. You could go get a paper napkin and kill that spider if you
Well,
want.
now he disappeared.
Okay, well, now you should be worried.
I mean, if he drops down on my head, that can make for good video, I guess. So, anyways, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, they said no one was using it, but like that doesn't mean you just take it out. I don't know. Like, what if what if 10% of their users were using NFC? That's still 100,000 people. Well, how many they
10
sold?
people.
1.5 million phones. So that's what 150,000 people that were actually. That's kind of a lot of people that might want to use NFC.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't see it as a big deal. You know, I've used NFC for mobile payments once in my life, and I used it to set up my phones. You know, now thanks to Lollipop, you know, you can touch the backs, and I set it up. But it's no big deal to me. I know a lot of people find it to be a deal breaker, but to me, NFC is not a deal breaker. If the phone didn't feature, you know, a camera, that would be a deal breaker.
That's kind of a big deal. We did ask people, ran a poll, and 53% said I can live without NFC. And then 47% said no, that would be a deal breaker with no NFC. So kind of split, which is surprising. But so I think for me, the bigger deal is no quick charging. Like that kind of sucks. Although with a 1080p display and a 3300 milliamp hour battery, hopefully you don't need to like charge it all the time. Like the Moto X from last year and the Galaxy S6, they need turbocharging because they last like 6 hours. Like you charge them twice a day. This phone should last like at least a day, maybe even more. I don't really think you need turbocharging, but still kind of sucks it's not there. And the other USB Type-C thing is just whatever. They're the first with fake USB Type-C.
They're the first. Well, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. One nice thing is though they're going to sell their USB Type-C cables for like $5. So that's awesome. So maybe for the future,
if you need some faux USB Type-C cables, you can just buy all of OnePlus's.
Yeah, but I think the cable will be fine potentially going forward on real USB Type-C. I just think it doesn't, you're not going to get any benefit from the OnePlus 2's USB Type-C. So let's see. August 11th goes on sale if you have an invite. They've said that they're going to have way more stock inventory at launch to hopefully help that.
30 to 50 times the amount they had with the OnePlus One.
Yeah.
Which
so I think they only had like
5 extra phones.
Well, they actually said, I can't remember who they gave the interview to, but they actually said how many phones they had available. And it was like at the first launch, and it might have only been like $2,000 or something. So if you go, 30 times 2, it's still like 60, maybe 60 to 70,000 they'll have on hand. So I know the list is like 1 million people long now, but hey, I was in the top like 12,000. I'm good.
I think I'm number 301,000. So because I was gone like the week it opened, and then I got like 4 days later, and it was already like 300K. I was like, well, crap.
Well, so I woke up on last Sunday morning and just cruised over to Reddit, and somebody had posted like, oh, the invite list is now open. So on like last Saturday night, they opened up the list and didn't tweet it or do anything. Like, I don't even know how people found it. And so I found it the next morning, which had only been like 6 hours later. And yeah, there was already 12,000 people on this list. And so then I shared it immediately so people could get on there. So I think some of our readers got in early if they were reading on the weekend. Good.
Well, you'll be in that first wave, I'm sure, of people to get an invite.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I should have a review unit hopefully sometime really soon. Hopefully,
maybe.
That would be nice. And then we'll get one, and then hopefully we'll have some invites. Maybe we can start sharing, and it'll be like this organic exponential growth of Droid Life, people sharing with each other. Maybe.
I love that. Like last year, people were sharing their invites in the comments. We love that. Feel free.
So we'll probably do that again if people want it. So I think that's kind of it. Like the phone, I was really impressed. And I think like I mentioned, going to the Moto X event afterwards, I didn't feel as blown away by Moto because it felt like the Moto phone felt a lot like last year's phone, just bigger. Like they didn't, like with Moto Voice and display, they didn't really add anything new. I asked them, I was like, what's new? Did you add anything to those to make them better? And the only thing they added was to Moto Display. They added the ability to adjust your music. And that was it. So Motorola didn't really add anything software wise. They just made a bigger, more powerful version, which is cool, I guess. But like OnePlus 2, maybe it's just because they're kind of the new kid on the block still. And so we're kind of excited to see what they do. And the price point's nice. Although at 389, which is the version you should buy, because you should never buy a phone today with only 16 gig of storage and no SD card slot, I would argue. So if you went 389 for $10 more, you can get the Moto X, and it works like anywhere, because it has CDMA compatibility. So tough choice there. Obviously, we'll have both and review them. If you were leaning one way right now, would you go Moto X or OnePlus 2?
Moto X probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because OnePlus, that company, something about their marketing tactics really quite like rubbed me the right way. You know, they listed 10 ways you can get a free one. I was like, oh crap, like let me check this out. I wouldn't mind like getting one all quick and free and early.
Flash mob.
Yeah, like I have to do a bunch of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna go out and interrupt a live performance or a concert and film myself being an asshole, basically, to get a free phone. I don't know 50 people to do a flash mob with or whatever. It's just a lot of it was stupid stuff.
Yeah.
They wanted me to go streaking at a baseball game and all this weird stuff. Yeah, I'm just not into it.
Which is not new. I mean, we've been.
No, we know OnePlus does silly things for marketing, so it's not a shocker. But yeah, I'm just feeling the Moto X more now. I kind of missed the Moto X 2014. I just stopped using it because new phones came out and life goes on. Yeah, I'm kind of excited to get something like that back in there.
Yeah, and look, we've been asking Motorola to do a real camera for a long time, and so far the reviews on the camera on the new Moto X are really, really good. So it could be the phone to have.
From the samples I've seen, it doesn't even look like it's a Motorola phone taking shots like that.
Right.
So,
which is kind of nuts.
It is really nuts.
Yeah. But the OnePlus 2 will have soon, and so we can obviously weigh in on that. And by the time the Moto X comes out, you'll hopefully be able to make a decision. I don't know. We might even have the Note 5 through here by the time the Moto X comes out. Think about that.
It's going to be around the same time. I know Samsung's not going to wait a month to launch the thing. There's no way. So they can't afford it. Yeah, they can't afford to do that according to their Q2 numbers.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
It's going to be a busy fall. And then as soon as we're done, reviewing all these phones, then we got Nexus phones to think about. So, and those, of course, will be awesome and legit. So
I think this year I'm more excited for Nexus than I have been in a while because there probably is going to be two.
The fact that there's two, and people can have a choice. I'm super looking forward to it. I didn't even really like the Nexus 6. It was just too big for me, so I just didn't really think about it. But the fact that there's two, one for people who like the big stuff and one for people who like the smaller stuff, that really excites me. Like, I just really wanted a revamped Nexus 5 from LG. That would be so cool.
Mm-hmm. But, I think the Nexus 5 is probably the most loved Nexus of all time.
It might be.
And so the thought of there being a new one, people are I think for like 2 years, people have been asking for just after the Nexus 5 and then, last year, like the Nexus 6 rumors were popping up and everyone just said, no, just give me a new Nexus 5. That's all we want. And we might get it this year.
That was a great phone. I mean, the battery and the camera were poor, but other than that, it's a good feeling little ice cream sandwich phone.
Yeah. Every time I pull it out of the device closet, basically, and you just hold it, you're like, this is a great phone because it has Android M. It's actually the phone I have Android M on, so I do play with it. Let's see. So, we could talk about that really quickly. So, Nexus 5 this week, or LG Nexus, whatever you want to call it. A supposed back plate leaked, and it shows it's a weird looking thing. So it's just a shell, and there's dual circles on the top. Obviously, one would be a camera, and there's a second one could be a fingerprint sensor, and then off to the left of those, there's a square-ish spot that either could also be the fingerprint sensor or flashes or. There's an extra hole. I guess there's not an extra hole, but which ones are which. And then there's a headphone jack up top, buttons on the same side in terms of power and volume. And then at the bottom, there's an extra port down there, which is weird.
It's getting pretty odd.
Yeah, because there's a headphone jack up top. So the bottom one, there's obviously the big bottom slot for where the USB Type-C, we're assuming. And then there's another slot. What the hell is that?
Could be speaker something like that.
Maybe
Microphone, just like a cutout for the microphone or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it just looks like such a big cutout. So, anyways, that popped up.
It's a funky looking phone all around.
It is, and so that's potentially on the horizon. I don't know, but
it looks rather large. If you think about where the volume rocker is and the thumb and the power button, it looks kind of large.
It's kind of hard to. Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to tell, right? Unless there's another phone sitting by it or it's in someone's hand. So
right. Well, there was that one leak where it shows like a molded case for the device sitting next to a Nexus 6, or kind of like a dummy unit of the Nexus 6, and it's like bigger than that.
Oh, I just assumed that was like some mock-up piece of paper they put in the case just to say, like, because it says new Nexus on it. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like I thought
just that was the same case, because if you look at a picture down below, you can see that clear case is the same size as the black one. So I think that was just somebody like putting a fake piece of paper to say, like, this is the new Nexus.
I thought maybe they did it as a size comparison to like how big the Nexus 6 is. Yeah, maybe you're right, to where it would make more sense if you were right, of course. But
the only reason I would say that is just because there's another picture. This is from Nowhere Else, by the way, .fr. Yeah. This is because, there's that other picture where both of the clear case and black case are next to each other, like they're the same one. That's the only reason I was thinking that. But and then the other one obviously is a Huawei Nexus, and we know that's coming because I think Huawei's confirmed it anonymously or something like 6 times. So yeah, hopefully this thing's like 5 inches, and then the Huawei is the big guy, 5.7 or whatever. Nexus, it's gonna be exciting.
Yep.
USB Type-C in there, the real USB Type-C. Maybe a real camera with some fingerprint action on the back, so we don't have a button on the bottom like OnePlus did.
Yeah, we'll
OnePlus's
see.
fingerprint sensor's fast though. The OnePlus 2 fingerprint sensor.
Yeah, I saw your GIF, and it looks real fast.
It's pretty legit. And look, I think my favorite thing is you can do it with the screen off. Like you just grab your phone and put your thumb down there. You don't have to like touch any button, because it's not a button. It's like a capacitive like touch sensor almost. So you just like pull it out of your pocket, put your finger down there, unlock the thing. You've never like squeezed or pressed or swiped or done anything, and your phone's unlocked, which is a big deal.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah. So all right. So Samsung, you kind of talked about this briefly, but they do have an event August 13th, New York City. You will be there. We're expecting Note 5, S6 Edge Plus, and maybe this new round smartwatch that got talked about yesterday by them, right? They confirmed some stuff.
Yeah, I will be there to rep the Note Cult. Yes, and we're expecting 3 major things: Note 5, Galaxy S6 Edge Plus, and Samsung Gear A, aka /Orbis, which is the round smartwatch featuring the rotating bezel, powered by Tizen. So it will only be compatible with Samsung smartphones.
Which sucks. I mean, not that I really care about smartwatches that much, but
yeah, I mean, you would hope that Samsung actually making like a premium smartwatch that it would run Android Wear and that anyone could have it. But no, it's gonna be exclusive, like everything else Samsung's been trying to do. I mean, the fact they have their own VR headsets for only their phones. They've got all their past watches were exclusive to only their phones. We shouldn't expect anything. We hope. We hope for something different. Maybe I think it would be cool if they made a Tizen version and then an Android Wear version. Like how cool would that be?
That would be nice.
That'd be great. If they need to push some hardware, it can't be that hard to just load up some Android Wear. It's like a 2 GB OS.
Isn't Huawei having to kind of do something like that? Because they want to sell their watch in China, but there's no Google services in China, so they can't really run Android Wear, something like that.
Yeah, I think they're doing something like some type of custom thing.
Their watch is just still not available.
Still not available. We still don't have a date. We don't have a price. We still don't know anything about the watch. I mean, we know what it looks like and that it looks cool and all that, but we're expecting it to be expensive, and we're expecting it sometime this year, maybe. Right. So,
yeah, because we did see with the package leak, and it's like in a legitimate fancy watch box. It's going to be expensive.
It looks fancy. That looks like something a tag would come in.
It looks like a real watch box, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a little nervous for all those cheapy Android users out there who won't be able to afford their Huawei watch. But start saving. This is going to be a watch you can hand down for generations and generations to your kids.
Right.
The 6 months of generations, the 1 year generations. So
that's funny. Yeah, so the Samsung thing, it's going to be a big deal, right? Because it's Note 5, right?
It's a big deal.
I don't understand the S6 Edge Plus. Like, this is a phone we're making just to have a bigger version of a phone. There's no
Yeah.
added benefit there, right?
Nope.
It's just a big edge.
Yeah, there's not a stylus or anything like that. So really, it's just an S6 Edge that's bigger.
So Samsung just took a hit or whatever you want to call it. They had a bad quarter. And a lot of people said it was because they couldn't produce enough S6 edges. So maybe they shouldn't have been focusing on making a giant S6 Edge Plus and just made actual S6 edges that people wanted to buy. It just seems so weird.
But then again, by then it was too late. The hype, again, I'm telling you, the hype is key.
Yeah.
It plays a very big role in device sales. And by then, the sales were already falling off and no one cared anymore. The issue they were having is that they couldn't make enough displays,
Right.
of the rounded displays. So,
Right.
so we'll see. Maybe, they beefed up manufacturing and now they can make even bigger ones. And, I don't see the S6 Edge selling very well. I remember I was interviewed by a Korean outlet at the Note 4 launch, and there they announced the what was it? The Note Edge.
Mhm.
And they're like, "Oh, do you see this, being real popular in North America?" And I was like, "Oh no, this is not going to sell very well at all." I think Samsung made a really big mistake here, and thankfully, I was correct. I believe I was correct, and because I don't know any Note Edge owners, I've never seen one in the wild.
Very few have actually emailed us with like an update or something like, "Oh, my Note Edge got an update." It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, so as long as they're happy, I'm happy. But I had a feeling it wasn't going to be like the next big thing.
Yeah.
The S6 Edge had a possibility because I still think in my mind that it is a very good looking phone, and I'm going to take it over there, to do a little comparison of S6 Edge versus S6 Edge Plus. I really don't want to have to keep saying that so long. I'll just do Edge Plus. There we go. I like that. But yeah, I still think it's a good looking phone. Maybe my favorite phone of the year so far. Still, even with TouchWiz being a little weird, I still haven't touched the second half phones. But of the first half from 2015, I would give my vote to the S6 and S6 Edge. I think they're good phones.
Mhm.
So we'll see. I don't know why they have to make a bigger one. Maybe it's just one of those like we did it first type of products, which is fine. Samsung loves doing that. Samsung and LG have always been going back and forth with the I did it first.
Mhm.
So we'll see. I'm more excited, of course, about that Note 5 though.
Yeah.
So
The Note 5 should be great.
yeah,
All the Note phones have been good. I can't imagine this one's going to be any different.
I doubt it'll be any different.
Yeah.
From what the leaked photos we've seen, and then the artistic renders that are going up that look so lifelike that every other news outlet in the world is saying this is it. It's like no, but it's good times, dude.
We'll just chop off the watermarks and go, look, real phone. And it's like an artist created render that are everywhere this week.
Kind of a bummer.
It is, yeah. That's welcome to the media industry, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's August 13th. I mean, that's 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks.
Yeah. So the OnePlus 2 will go on sale if you have an invite 2 days before Samsung does that thing. Are we thinking like the Note 5 is available 2 weeks later? So they're going to be in way before Motorola, aren't they?
Yeah.
What is Motorola doing?
Does Motorola care? I was thinking I don't know if they care. They put so much effort in the low and mid range markets, and they're crushing it. They're doing a really good job, and I think that's what the Moto G is their biggest seller
ever.
So really, do they need to focus on the high end? Do they care about getting one to the market? I'm sure they do, but not as much as maybe the Moto G and dominating that low market.
That's true. And maybe why they did this event now is because the Moto G is ready now.
Right.
They can sell a whole bunch of those while they kind of gear up to launch these others. And if they sell a few million of these, the regular Moto X, hey, good. But they'll sell like 10 million. Well, who knows if they'll sell that many. They'll sell a lot of Moto Gs. And that's probably all they really care at this point.
Yeah, we just had our epiphany. I mean, they made the Moto G available that day.
Yeah,
so clearly that must have been it.
Which is why it was leaking everywhere, right? Because every Mexican and Brazilian retailer had it already and they were posting it. It was ridiculous.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
So yeah, I mean, go with lead with your best foot. Lead with your best foot forward. Yeah. Whatever. So and the Moto G is right now their best foot.
It is.
So Good on you. Good on you, Moto.
Let's see what. So Nvidia Shield tablet, they issued a recall today.
Yeah, so this early morning around, I believe it was 4 a.m., 3:30 a.m., 4 a.m. Pacific, they issued a recall on all Shield tablets that were sold between July 2014 and July 2015. At that same time, an update went out late last night to Android 5.1.1, and inside that update, you are able to go into the About Phone status and check the battery. And if your battery was labeled a B01 or a Y01, would depend on if your device was affected. I got my tablet last year, sometime around that time, and my device is affected. So you just have to go on their site. It auto polls to your serial number and all of that. So it was really simple to do. And they're just going to send you a new one. It says it'll be here within 2 to 4 weeks. And once you set up that new tablet, your last one will be rendered useless. And what they found during testing is that sometimes the battery used on the one sold from 2014 to 2015 is that the battery would overheat and might be a fire hazard. So if you don't want to lose all your possessions and your loved ones, probably not use your Shield tablet until you get a new one if it is affected by the recall.
And back it up or pull all your stuff off it or whatever you need to do.
They say it's fine to use. You can update it, back up all your data, your photos, and all your good stuff for when the new one is coming, and then maybe just don't touch it. So that's what I'm gonna do. Although it kind of scares me almost. It doesn't really scare me. Who am I kidding? I've had that thing connected on the charger for the past few months, just plugged into my TV upstairs because I use it in console mode. Right. So that thing has not been unplugged for months. It had like dust all over it and stuff.
And when you're using it, it's probably getting a little hot.
I mean, I took it off and it didn't seem bad at all. Performance was good.
Unplug that thing now.
Yeah, so I did, and it's down here in my drawer.
Well, I have one of those too. I should probably look at mine. I didn't even think about it. I have one of those tablets.
Yep, and you probably should get a new one.
Yeah, I'm sure it's bad. I'm sure I got it right away during that initial period. Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, I think I saw some report or rumor saying that so far there was 88,000 tablets affected. So, more than likely, your tablet is affected if you own a Shield tablet.
Think about that. Between July 2014 and 15, does that mean they only sold 88,000 of those things?
That just means those are the only ones that were reported so far. Okay. So, I would kind of hope it's more. But then again, it's very niche tablet, for a niche market. So it's true. It's a tablet built specifically for gamers.
That's true.
So I'm sure a lot of teens and 20 somethings will probably need to get new tablets.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do we have for news? I feel like we haven't done a show for a while. That's pretty much it. That's the big stuff, right? Oh, Android M Preview 3 delay today.
Correct.
We still don't have Hangouts 4. Even though it's been on iOS for like a month now. It's nice too. Every time I grab my iPhone, pop that thing open. Sometimes I grab the iPhone just to use Hangouts for.
Yeah, it's kind of weak. That makes me just want to have an iPhone and
you get all the Google apps updated first on iOS.
Android life is a very sad life. It's a life where you are just left wanting.
Always left wanting.
You're wanting updates for the OS, updates for the apps. I don't even know what's so good about Android anymore. I used to praise it for how open it was and how you could flash ROMs and all that, but I don't even do any of that anymore. It's like, dude, battery life on these phones suck. Cameras suck.
All we do is complain about iOS apps. We do it for choice, damn it. That's why.
I do like
people
choice.
And for choice.
Yep, we do it for the people.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
And I just don't like iOS. It is such a terrible operating system. My God. Worst keyboards ever. Touch points are terrible and never work properly.
Yeah, and all the third-party keyboards are crap too. From what I remember, I was playing with them for a little bit, and I was just not having fun at all.
Switching between them is like the jankiest thing ever. Like iOS is so bad. I use it regularly because when I go for runs, a lot of times I grab my iPhone because it's small and it's not a whale, and the battery life actually doesn't die while you're running like Android phones, and. Yeah, iOS is bad, dude. I can't handle it very much of it.
The fact that I can't easily share information between applications was like one of my big things. Like sure you can like copy and paste, but when I wanted to share like a photo from my gallery, why is this such a pain? Like
Try
I
to
can't
go to a website or an email and like download a PDF and then open that. Like, good luck. Like, I still don't think you can even do it. There's no like file manager, so you can't do any of that.
Yeah, that's a real issue for me. I like that, Android is a lot like Windows, where it's it's a lot more like usable and functional. So
anyways, little iOS rant there. Let's see, you got any apps or games you want to talk about?
Apps and games. I want to talk about Rovio's release of Angry Birds 2, the sequel, the official sequel to Angry Birds. This is years in the waiting. I don't know if anyone's been waiting, but it's been years in the making. So they figured it out. They were like, what can we do that's different? Oh, we got it. Add in-app purchases. So it's basically Angry Birds where you fling birds. And what you do in each level is you earn cards. And these cards are the birds. And you can use your birds in any order you want. You are no longer bound by the order in which Rovio gave them to you in, say, the first Angry Birds or Angry Birds Seasons or all those different following variants. So there's that. You got cards. You have magic spells, so your birds can perform magic spells now because that makes sense. And in-app purchases, a lot of in-app purchases ranging from $1 to $100 a pop. So if you want to go spend some serious cash money on Angry Birds and you want to try and help Rovio have a positive quarter in the black, then I highly suggest you go pick up Angry Birds 2, available on Google Play.
So did you play it much at all?
I played it for 5 minutes.
And it was weird. We were kind of talking about this, but did it stop you and say, like, if you want to play, buy more tokens or whatever that do?
No, I didn't play it for that long, actually. When I was writing it up, I downloaded it and just opened it up just to see, like if it was smooth and all that. I didn't dive deep into, what all you need. They say on the app description page that you do not need to buy anything in order to play. But they say that on all the other games that require you to technically buy in order to keep playing.
Right. Well, it was like they came out with that Angry Birds Go, which was like Mario Kart game, which was a really fun game. Right. But yeah, they capped it. So you could only play it for like 10 minutes. And then they were like, you need to take a break or you can buy and then you can play. And it was like, this is horseshit. It's like,
yeah, how about you just release an unlocked version for like $5? Then I can just play whenever the heck I want.
Right. And then they can even still charge me for the extra crap, but just let me play it without having to stop and pay more. Like, this is stupid. I will, because after they screwed up that Angry Birds Go, because I was pretty excited for that game because I love Mario Kart. I was so pissed. I was like, oh, you're going to make me pay to play more? No. Whatever.
Rovio is, they're one of those.
They're the worst.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. I didn't want to say it, but
their CEO or founder or whatever he is, the dude still wears Angry Birds sweatshirts everywhere he goes. I just saw a picture of him the other day at an event, and he was shaking somebody's hand that was, I think, somewhat important. And he was wearing, it was like a big deal. Like, dudes were wearing suits and stuff. He's rocking the Angry Birds, like, red sweatshirt. Like, you're a grown-ass man, dude. You're, like, in your 50s, probably.
You got to keep it relevant somehow. Come on.
God, like that's the, if we want to talk about OnePlus and their terrible marketing, like the CEO of Angry Birds wearing an Angry Birds sweatshirt in public still as a grown ass man is embarrassing. That's not marketing anymore.
He probably picked it up at Target. I mean, think about the merchandising machine that Angry Birds has. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous.
I wonder how much of that stuff they actually sell still or did. I think they probably did, initially, but like now are people buying like Angry Birds plush toys?
I try and I think about that stuff through my niece and nephew. I kind of follow, they are the trendsetters. They're like that new generation of trendsetters. For some odd reason, at my niece's school, Under Armour is like the go-to logo brand sport right now. It's not Nike or Adidas, it's Under Armour. Like they want the huge bright neon Under Armour sweaters with the big UA on them.
That's crazy.
And there was a time when they loved Angry Birds and everything had to be Angry Birds, but that time has long passed. I mean, this next generation coming, they go through stuff so quick, and every other day it's something new, and it scares me. Like I remember back in the day, she liked Tickle Me Elmo, and then so I got her for her birthday like a Tickle Me Elmo thing. She's like, I haven't played with this thing for like months. I don't care about Elmo anymore. I'm like, well, damn it, stop growing.
Yeah.
So it's hard to keep up. You'll see it. I mean, you have a baby who's going to grow up and be a serious consumer of all the
Soon,
good stuff.
probably, yeah.
Yeah. So just you can keep an eye on trends by following what he likes, and it's cool.
It is kind of cool, actually, because we're all like old and set in our ways and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we are. Ugh.
All right, sweet. Anything else? I don't think I have any apps or games. I keep switching phones, so I don't have time to like find new apps and games. I feel bad about that, but
That's true.
I haven't used anything new in a while, I don't think.
No, I just want to. It's hot. It's really hot. It's like 100 degrees again, I feel like.
It's supposed to be, yeah, like 105 again today.
Yeah, and so that's really hard on the body. And yeah, other than that, not much.
I went
Thanks
for a
everyone.
run this morning at
Oh,
7, and
it was already 70
like
degrees.
or something.
Oh, gee.
Gross.
Yeah, it's getting nasty.
It is. Anyways,
Winter is coming, just so everyone knows. I've
Maybe-
heard through a
maybe.
source that winter might be coming. So,
maybe. I don't even know if I believe that anymore.
yeah. We'll see.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. It's Droid Life Show episode 87. And yeah, we'll try to be back next week. Thanks for joining us. Peace.
Peace.